Hey, and welcome to Matt and Jess TV. I am Matt Roast.
And I'm Jessica Bun Bun.
Welcome to our new Dexter Resurrection Theory discussion. And this one is a big one. I think it's also going to be a lot of fun because there's probably a million ways to go back and forth on it. Is Mia LaPierre, a.k.a. Lady Vengeance, still actually alive?
Yeah, here's the thing. For all of you been watching TV for as long as us, longer than us,
Yeah.
you guys have probably seen so many deaths on TV where it's like, are they dead? And they're actually not. I
Yep.
had for a long time been of the opinion of if I don't see the body go into the ground, then they're still alive because it always kind of feels that way, that more likely than not the person is still alive. And we've seen some of your comments, we've questioned it as well, like, yeah, she looked really dead, but the person that like checked her pulse and was like, yeah, she's dead, is the person that Charlie paid off, the
Mm-hmm.
warden. So is this the person then who helped to like fake this whole like unaliving situation, or are they the person that actually just killed them as like, yeah, she's dead?
Yeah, there are a number of different ways that we can look at this situation in terms of the warden, in terms of Charlie.
Right.
Like, could there be somebody else who's ultimately involved in all of this? Like, there are a lot of questions to get into with that. I mean, there's also just a very big surface level thing to say here almost from the get go, which is just that even if there was somebody out there right now, and there's not, we'll get more into interview comments, but even if there was someone out there saying right now, oh, Mia's dead 100%. You know, you're never going to see her again in the present.
Sure.
Clyde Phillips literally said this about Dexter Morgan at the end of New Blood. And look at where we are now.
Yeah, interviews, you got to take them with a grain of salt. Sometimes they'll let some little things slip, but for the most part, they're going to tell whatever fibs they have to tell to be able to keep secrets so that we can have a nice surprise.
Yeah, okay. Well, we're going to get into everything more here in this theory video. But before we do, be sure to hit that subscribe button because we will be here with more Dexter Resurrection
Mhm.
coverage. As you guys may know, we do multiple videos a week. We do weekly reviews, episode previews, and then just a smorgasbord of theories. We have so much fun going into all sorts of great stuff, including this with Mia, including, Aster and Cody coming back. Like, there's
Yeah.
so many fun topics here, and we don't want you guys to miss any of those.
We are also covering Alien Earth
Mm-hmm.
here at the channel. If you're a big Alien fan, so are we. So we're
Yes.
going to be covering that here. Twisted Metal. There's all kinds, Only Murders in the Building, all
Yeah.
kinds of great shows. But also, if you want to talk to us further about Dexter Resurrection, you can head over to our Patreon. We're having some more discussions over there. I'll leave a link for you below.
Thank you guys so much. We really appreciate
Thank you.
that. Okay, let's just start here now with words from Kristen Ritter herself because I feel like that's kind of important.
Yeah.
So she said this to the Hollywood Reporter, and this was asked about a possible return. She said, so I wouldn't count on anything, but if there is a way for me to continue playing this character, I would do it because it was a blast. So obviously, she did not take this role thinking, oh, I'm just going to come in, do this little part, and then I'm not going to do anything else. Like, there's been comments out there for a while from her about potentially doing some sort of Lady Vengeance spinoff
Mhm.
in a way if that ever arises.
Yeah, I wouldn't count on it. Doesn't mean Mia is dead. Like,
Mm,
yeah, there's a lot of times like Clyde being like, oh, yeah,
yeah,
Dexter's for sure dead. And he probably was for sure dead at that point because he wasn't planning on making any more,
yes.
right? But then when he's like, all right, let's make some more. Okay, cool. Coma it all came in, right? You can always find a way to bring people back if you want to bring people back. And
Yeah.
that's the thing, right? So she hasn't confirmed it that she's actually dead. And a lot of times when characters are dead on shows and they do interviews, like their postmortems, they do confirm that they're just dead if they're just dead.
Yeah.
So it does leave a little bit of wiggle room here of, is there a surprise coming? And as I mentioned, the whole setup of this where we saw Charlie go to the warden, pass over the money, all of a sudden Mia is, dead, but he's the person who's checking the pulse and being like, yeah, she's dead. So tinfoil hat, are we then going to see her later on? Because Leon is a guy who doesn't want to lose his toys. And already one of his toys, the tattoo collector, has just up and disappeared. He
Yeah.
doesn't know what is going on at this point. So is he also going to actually want to lose Mia? I don't think he is. I think he is going to want to find a way to get her out of this spot. But because of she was caught red-handed with this
Yes.
guy, it's kind of like, okay, money can buy a lot of things, but can it actually buy her to be able to get off on these crimes? It's a maybe. But her being dead does get her out of those crimes, and then he can pay to have her reinvent herself.
I think that's the biggest argument as to, okay, was Leon somehow involved in a massive cover up to make sure she got out of here? Because yeah, I did think for a while that he could just probably pay off a bunch of cops and have her end up getting out of jail on a technicality. And I think
Maybe.
it's probably easier to do that if it's somebody who, I don't know, is not a serial killer who's known publicly. I think once you get
She's too high profile.
yeah, I think once you get to that point, then you're getting to a position here where it's going to be really, really difficult to pull something like that off. I think where things get a little bit complicated here is obviously like, okay, if Leon was to do something like this, you have to, number one, make sure you have all the tools in place to make people believe that she's actually dead. Like, that's a big part of it. And that's where, if you guys watched our previous discussions, I referenced the Blacklist trying to kill Liz Keene, where it looked like she was dead. And there was this big elaborate plan that involved her being basically quote unquote dead for a short period of time. Like, Leon's got the money and the resources to do something like that, where he can figure all that out and get like the right people in place.
Yeah, it's just knowing what we know about Leon, which
Yeah.
isn't a lot, but what we do know about him is that he is obsessed with killers and
Yes.
actually having the money to bring notable killers out of the shadows to come and have dinner with him or go to this retreat or do any of these other things. I just don't think he's gonna want to let her go, especially the way that she was kind of explaining it. You know, a lot of female killers are just poisoners, someone who's going to poison people and
Yeah.
not quite as flashy as Lady Vengeance is. And to have somebody like her at his table, I just don't think he's going to want to let that go. And if he could find a way to keep her, he would. But on the other hand, he does have his rules, and his
Mhm.
rules, you know, you're going to kill another killer, you're going to do something that could put him in jeopardy. He is going to take you out. And that's why, for me, and I could be wrong, I think she's actually dead. And I think she's actually dead because Leon has a lot to lose and he can get more killers. He just picked up Red. He can pick up more killers.
I'm going to say she's dead, dot, 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 for now. And by that I
Oh,
mean,
you on a fence of your own
no,
riding.
here's what I think. I think she's dead unless they come up with an idea that's really exciting to bring her back. Like, I think that's where it is. I think that
Oh, you think she's dead for this season?
I think she's dead for this season. I think they'll probably sit back. Because this character's already really pretty popular, right? It seems like a lot of people really like her. A lot of people like Kristen Ritter.
Right.
So I think in response to everything, they might go back, look at some things, figure out ways to pivot. Because like, here's another couple of interesting things about the idea, theoretically, of Mia being alive here is that, you know, and you've talked about this in past, is that Prater's the sort of person that wants killers to dance for their supper. Like, that he
Yes.
wants people to be a part of his organization and do what he wants, because I think he likes that idea of having power. He would have almost unlimited power over someone like Mia if she is the, if he's the only reason she is out of jail is because of him, and that he managed to fake her own death so that she does get this opportunity to start over. Like, that's a huge amount of pressure on her, and it's a lot of power for him to have.
Huge amount of power for him
Yeah.
to have. And that is something that he's seemingly really thriving off of, having these killers at his dinners. You know, we saw the whole like slideshow with the tattoo collector. Like, this is what he's living for, being able to have these killers as his prized possessions to do whatever he wants. If he's able to fake her death, to get her out of prison, give her a new identity, then he is the only person that really knows, besides Charlie and his organization, that she is still out there, and he is the person who can expose her at any moment, and she's going to have to live the rest of her life like that.
Okay, here's where I'm gonna give a little bit of advice to Mia if she is actually alive. Get a makeover, like, I don't know, get a new hairdo, do something to
Oh,
make
I'm sure
yourself
she
look
will.
different,
Yeah.
because it's just like, this is something that still frustrates me about Dexter, is that even when he was Iron Lake, he was still looking just like Dexter.
I know.
And
What are you going to do?
I just like, can you at least try? Like, if you're gonna have a new identity, Mia, at least try with some of this. But okay, here's another idea that I did kind of have bouncing around in my head, and I'll be honest, I don't like this idea as much as I do the idea that, okay, Prater is actually motivated. But if the producers do a little bit of what I'm kind of suggesting here, which is this idea of, okay, she's dead for the season, but
Mhm.
we're gonna gauge the fan base, we're gonna see what Showtime thinks, we're gonna see, how popular the character is. They could easily do something where Leon and Charlie, they sort of bring in this bribe, but it turns out this warden is accepting bids from the highest bidder.
Mhm.
And there's actually somebody else out there who, because we don't know that much about Mia's past,
Mhm.
there might be someone else out there that's actually really invested in having her be alive and having her be out there. I'm not saying it's another Praetor per se, but I think there is the possibility that someone else exists that's going to help her fake her own death and start anew in that sort of way. Just because if this show is going to do whatever they can to finagle Dexter still being alive, to the extent that they give a pretty unrealistic explanation when it comes to Angela suddenly dropping the case. That's like my only big
So
bugaboo
weird. Yeah.
with this show. Like, it's been fire, but I still don't really get that. Like, they could easily do that here too.
Yeah, I mean, if they want to bring her back, they don't have to actually make her alive to do something in the present. They could easily go back just a couple of years and do something that's like a prequel of
Yeah.
just Lady Vengeance and what she's been doing and all that sort of stuff. Even just bring it back 5 years and you can still have Kristen Ritter playing Lady Vengeance. It'll be the same. It's just sort of like, what would that story actually be,
Yeah.
right? Like if you're gonna have her away from the whole Dexter universe, how do you make that happen, right? I just don't know outside of Leon how you bring her back, because if there was, say,
Mhm.
somebody else, a higher bidder that's going to the warden to be like, yeah, okay, take that money but also take my money, sort of thing, then is it getting a little bit too unbelievable? There's like
I
two
know.
billionaires that are out here paying him off to, save Mia in some sort of way or get Mia in some sort. Is she that hot of a commodity? Maybe.
Maybe it's a hard thing to know, but it is a stretch, and that's one of these sort of things where the Leon idea is the most exciting. And I do think we also do have to sit back and remember, and we've talked about this before, the idea that they've said, once again, interviews not always canon,
No.
that some of these killers could be set up for future seasons. Because, if you guys are relatively new at the channel, there is one thing that Jess loves in particular more than anything else on this green earth, and that is a revenge story.
Love revenge.
The idea that Mia is somehow saved here and she figures out that it was Red, Dexter, who did this to her. She is going to want revenge on him, and it is going to be juicy and incredible television.
Absolutely. And I mean, I'm also kind of hoping that going into this next episode that we're going to see Leon wanting more revenge, that, he is going to start to kind of put some pieces together.
Yeah.
And one of the ways he might be able to put these pieces together is through Mia. If Mia is still alive, then she is going to have information that she's going to be able to give him about Red, that it's like, okay, things have been going really weird since, we just had this latest dinner. And what's different here? This guy, we've lost the
Yes.
tattoo collector. Mia's all of a sudden in jail. Okay, we've gotten her out. We've faked this death. We've gotten her out. What can you tell me about Red? Because you are the only person who has spent time with him here. What can you tell me about him?
See, there's just so much juicy story that's left here if there is kind of another detour that's taken with this character.
Yeah.
I want her to still be alive for all of these different reasons. But before we wrap this video up, we need a lot more tinfoil here, because the next discussion, this is going to be a pretty meta one in a lot of ways. Because one of the things that's really interesting to me is that Kristen Ritter has a long-standing relationship with executive producer Scott Reynolds on
Hmm.
this show. The two of them work together.
Scott.
Yeah, they work together on Jessica Jones. So they've known each other for a pretty long time. I don't think, you just talked a little bit about this earlier. I don't think it's a coincidence. We saw directly Neil Patrick Harris's tattoo collector get killed on Dexter's table. Like, there's no ambiguity there.
No.
It feels like there's a lot more ambiguity here. It
Yes.
feels like because Kristen and Scott know each other, that there's going to be more incentive for them to want to reunite down the road.
Of
Now,
course.
if you are out there being like, okay, well, how would this even work? Because Kristen's also going to be back for Daredevil Born Again season 2. She's already filmed that. For those of you who don't already know, that season's already in the can. And,
Yeah.
it's always possible the Jessica Jones show comes back, but that's not really a guarantee.
It's not happening right now, so it feels like she would be open to being able to do some other stuff.
Yeah, and I think she could even do both because, like,
Mhm.
the Dexter universe, these shows film pretty fast. They film in, like,
Very
4 or
fast.
5 months, something like that. They turn around pretty quickly. I think there's a perfect opportunity for her to balance all them out. I just feel like a lot of the seeds are here where, while it might seem crazy, and maybe it is crazy, but that she could actually still be alive. This is the Dexter universe. I don't think we can look at anything at face value.
No, we've talked about this in a couple of videos. We've seen some like crazy deaths where people should absolutely
Yes.
be dead and they are not. They have found ways to bring them back. So, would this be the craziest thing that I've ever seen? No, it's always that arrow death of Oliver. It's just so ridiculous. But if they can bring him back, they can bring anybody back.
Okay, well, let's turn this over to you guys because I think there's two different questions here. Do you think that Mia is still alive, and do you want Mia to still be alive? Like, let us know that, all your theories to what a revenge tour could look like, so much more, and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any more of our Dexter Resurrection coverage. We just have a great time talking with you guys about Dexter. What can we say?
Yeah, it's been
you
fun.
can support us further by joining our Patreon. That link is in the description. Thank you guys so much for your support as always. We'll see you here next time.